Hello everyone, today we're talking about the short-lived kit model company Addar. Addar was a company that specialized initially in simply repopping some of Aurora's out-of-use molds. It was a company that managed to get itself started on the cheap as a way to enter the business with the lowest possible barriers. The company was started by Abe Shikes. Many of you may remember him as one of the founding members of Aurora. Abe, along with John Como on the left and Joe Giammarino in the middle, Abe on the right, had started Aurora in the early 1950s, this photo being taken somewhere in the mid-50s. And to show you just what this industry will do to you, how it can age a person quickly, here they are just a little over a decade later. Shortly after this picture was taken, John Como retired, and not long after that, Abe Shikes, in what could best be described as a styrene version of Game of Thrones, maneuvered Joe Giammarino out of his position, took over the company, and a year later sold it to Charles Diker, who within a year had gotten rid of Abe Shikes. But Abe wasn't the kind of guy to remain idle, so around 1972 he started Addar, which started putting out kits in 1973. Now, to get into the business quickly, Abe simply knew that they had a lot of unused Aurora molds that he could lease for cheap, and he started repackaging some of their models that were out of production. Of course, the aircraft he used were the small jet models that originally had been Comet molds that Aurora had required, reboxed, and remarketed. This was a cheap way to get in, and the ships, of course, were simply the old gallon and gallon kits that Aurora had done the exact same thing with. This allowed him to have ships and planes with ready-to-go molds with really no direct competition. They only made about 4 sets of the 2-in-1 kits, which was a packaging technique to help sell these relatively inexpensive kits. These aircraft came in no specific scale or order. You had the 1 to 300 scale 707, boxed up with a 1 to 175 scale B-58. The Skyray was in 1 to 88 scale, the F-84 in 1 to 82 scale, the Cougar also in 1 to 82 scale, the F-94C in 1 to 91 scale, the F-100 in 1 to 103 scale. They were all over the place with this. The kits were simple and a bit outdated, but there was nothing fundamentally wrong with them, and putting 2 in a box did give a buyer a sense of getting an extra bang for his dollar. The kits themselves were also, of course, a low-cost way to get into the business again. But Shikes did not take very long in starting to cut new molds for his own properties. Now, some of them were properties that did not require any licensing. He could go right into production. But having spent all that time on Aurora with its licensed products, Shikes knew the importance of popular items that could be licensed. One of the first things they got was a license for Evel Knievel. Now, having grown up in this period, it's hard for those who don't remember to appreciate just how popular Evel Knievel was. So once they got the license, they made 3 Evel Knievel kits. And this, of course, gave them more bang for their buck. Once you have the license, you have the license. They also tied into other products, such as the movie Jaws and the very popular series Planet of the Apes. Now, we'll talk more about them in just a moment. They also did a wildlife series and even did a space series, as well as several unlicensed products in their super scenes. The super scenes were essentially a takeoff on the ship on a bottle concept. The Planet of the Apes licensed property scenes were roughly 1/32 scale in figures. The others, including the wildlife series and the Jaws super scene, were just whatever fit into the bottle. Like the old box scales, the scale of the model depended more on the size of the bottle than anything else. Addar's Planet of the Apes series is probably what they're best known for. And I was going to get into some detail about this, but I found a website, Hunter's Planet of the Apes Archives, and he has a section dedicated to Addar models, which is worth the read. He has all kinds of shop drawings from Addar and concept drawings, and a lot of cool stuff there, but it's all copyrighted and licensed, and I don't have permission to use it, so I'm going to put a link below, and you can check that out. I used ScaleMates to get the approximate dates that these were issued in the early 70s. seen from what I could get online that the most popular one was Dr. Zayas as far as being the most accurate, and perhaps Zira had the worst molding on the head and face, although apparently she had a very good costume. The rest of them, the quality sort of varied. It was kind of hit and miss, but they were popular, and I'm going to assume they were probably Addar's best sellers, but not enough to keep the company going. The ape soldier on the horse seems to be the hardest one to find and the one that all the collectors want to get. And I saw them on eBay everywhere from $30 to $200. It's just whatever you can find. I really have no idea how well the Super Scene sold, but what I do know is that by 1977, Addar had pretty much ceased to exist. I believe they'd actually stopped producing models by 1975. Now, Addar is considered by a lot of people just to be an offshoot of Aurora, and they're not entirely wrong. Between Abe and using the old Aurora molds, there is a lot of Aurora carryover, but Abe Shikes made his own company and did his own thing, and all definitely inspired by his experiences at Aurora. Addar was its own animal, and as usual, Abe marched to the tune of his own drummer. Well, that's what I have for this one. Guys, take care of yourselves, and as always, model on.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it in New York, New York. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it, New York, New York. I want to wake up in a city that never sleeps, to find I'm king of the hill, top of the list. These little town blues are melting away. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. Doesn't sleep, to find I'm king of the hill, top of the list, and number one, king of the hill. It's up to you.